Yeah.
So in my day, it was so much better.
Mine was about the luncheon.
Yeah.
Well, my father was the cantor of Temple Emmanuel in Providence, so we had to invite 1,400 families. Families.
Did you say 1,400?
1,400 families we had to invite. And when I got up to do my bar mitzvah, there were, really, we didn't have a party. We just did lunch. That was it. For 1,400 families. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2.
Anyway, I'm saying.
Dylan, when you do your thing tomorrow, the microphone is here. When the Torah is here, your microphone is over here a little bit. So kind of remember to just talk into the microphone a little bit, all right? Especially Rabbi Bernie and Alyssa will be right there with you.
Was that a result of the triathlon stuff you did? Wonderful thing. I said to myself, I'm going to stop right close to you. He said, just walk, okay. How are you doing? Doing some things. That was Let me go find myself. Let me get my stuff together. this out.
Yep.
Okay, just double check. I thought, what have you had, but I see, this, right. Right. Okay. Is Alan participating in that?
He is. He said he would. I saw him last night.
I have a new thing here. Look at this. This is for trash. I cleaned out everything, so everything's gone from here.
Excellent.
All right, good, cool. It's great.
Yeah, thank you.
A year, little Devar, 800 words. That's good. Testing, testing.
1, 2, 6. Yivarechecha, you know, the same thing, right?
I got that. And it's funny, I was going through my files.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's not making files.
I used to make a lot of copies of it too until I eventually put it in here.
So it's funny, because, you know, with my, I actually this week was my, just going through some files. Build up your needs of it. No. So it's what I keep doing. Oh, those are new kids. Everything that was in here. I put in blocks. You saw my friend, me and Kenny, we like, we look like brothers, no? He's good, he's very good. He said, I'm leaving. He was the one, I thought you were him for a second, how will you go? I said, will you? He goes, sit down, don't confuse me. I saw this. I mean, I would, we should bear up. So there's a funny, because I have a picture of me, Marty, and Ken around with the one I have. Well, down like this with the line. Yeah. So this is your next. Sure. Do you want me to? I got a little talk. Step back. What is the dark? I'll be here though. I'll be here. That's like choking your coffee. Then I'll come off.
But, and if you want, I'll do this.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'll do this and I'll be doing the. So, or do you want to do?
It's up to
You
you.
do. Got a double. You have to. Do you want to do this or not?
Yeah, sure.
Just don't do that. So, yeah, I'll start it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, good luck. Well, it is that way. And if you're here, you come.
I'll take the responsibility. Yeah, I'll bring it over here.
That's smooth. Not too. Since the shot. I'll be here. I'm not gonna go down. Whatever you want. We'll do some,
Tomorrow, and you can like call. Right. Probably will believe early Sunday morning, possibly tomorrow night.
We have 15 seconds.
Well, the problem is if I leave it Saturday night, then I have to stay over 2 nights. Because I can't go full trip. 4, 3, 2. Welcome, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. We'll start off a little nigun. Adele, you're sitting over there. It's so confusing for me. I've never seen you in all these years. I look over there, it's like you're not here. Yeah, die, 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 die. Yeah, die, 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 die. Yeah, die, 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 die. Yeah, die, 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 die.
Two, three, four. Come on, everybody on Zoom, sing. Two, three, four. Zoom, folks.
Shabbat shalom. Hey, Shabbat shalom.
Yes.
Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Hey, Shabbat shalom.
Yes.
Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom, Shabbat, Shalom, hey, Shabbat, Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom.
Bim bam bim. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Everybody at home is so happy. They're all smiling. Zoom golly golly. Hello, you guys on YouTube. I'm sorry, I can't see you.
That's right. Do bimbo.
Well, you know, we always start off with some good news. So is there any good news in the house? All right, I'll come over to you, Richard.
Well, we always have a few that got us
I'll
that
come over
good
to you,
news.
Richard.
Bum, bim, 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 bum.
The good news is the lady sitting next to me, my friend, my neighbor, a wonderful person, celebrated a birthday two days ago.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So your twin had a birthday on the same day? She must have been born when you got born. I think somebody just rang the bell, but I think the door is unlocked, but if you go check. Well, happy birthday, Paula.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, great. Good to see you again. Anyone else with some good news? Oh, I got to go to the other side. Okay, all right. This is my PT.
Bim, bum, bim, bim, bim,
Just
bum.
let them know on TV what's going on here.
Yes. So the rabbi is looking for good
Vanna
news.
is walking.
Bim,
Yes,
bim,
Carol.
bim, bim.
My great nephew celebrating his bar mitzvah this week in New York.
Mazel tov.
All the best.
A
Wonderful.
celebration.
Anybody else with some good news?
So I got a good report from my oncologist today. So that was good news for me.
That's the best news. That's wonderful news.
Great news.
Anybody else with some good news? Any good news over here?
Oh, yeah. I think we
Any
got
good news
something
over
happening
here?
tomorrow.
Do you have some good news? Does Dylan want to give us some good news or Pam?
Tomorrow, we're celebrating Dylan's bat mitzvah here.
That's Dylan Stein, for those of you at home that don't know her. She'll be having her bat mitzvah here tomorrow morning. And we're so happy you're here and looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And the good news is that Rabbi Perlman is not going to bother you at all tonight. Can you- Yeah, the mic's on. I just have a
And the-
mask on.
And the mask is on too,
Yeah,
and that's a
man.
problem.
I just told Dylan, I'm not going to bother her tonight. So that's the good news. Everybody's happy with that, right, Dylan? Yeah, good.
Yes, Dylan Stein's bat mitzvah tomorrow morning.
Anyone else with some good news before I walk back up there? All right. The other good news is Rabbi Bernie's doing most of the service tonight.
That's good news to me too. Let's start on page 13 with Shalom Aleichem. Please join me. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nil Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Teitchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Yedid Nefesh on page 14. Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman Mishach Avdach El Ritzonach Yarutz Avdach Kimo Ayal Yesh Tachave Emo Hadarach Yerav Lo Yedidu Tach Mino Fetzuv V'chol tam yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai dai dai. Yada die 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 die. And let's read on the bottom of page 14. Dear God, help us now to make this a new Shabbat. After noise, we seek quiet. After crowds of indifferent strangers, we seek to touch those we love. After concentration on work and responsibility, we seek freedom to meditate, to listen to our inward selves. We open our eyes to the hidden beauties and the infinite possibilities in the world you are creating. We break open the gates of the reservoirs of goodness and kindness in ourselves and in others. We reach toward one holy, perfect moment of Shabbat. And we join together on the top of page 15 with Lechuna Ranana. Lechune Ranana, Lechune Ranana. Lechu lechu neranana ladonai. Lechu neranana, lechu neranana. Lechu lechu neranana ladonai. Naria, naria, letzor yeshenu. Nikadma fana betoda. Naria, naria, letzor yeshenu. Bizmi wrote Naria lo lechu neranina lechu neranina lechu lechu neranina ladonai lechu neranina lechu neranina lechu lechu neranina ladonai. Arbaim shana kut bedor, v'amaram toev levavhem, v'hem lo yadu drachai. Asher nishpati v'yapi, im yavon el menuchati. Let's turn to page 16. We'll do that responsively in English. Sing a new song to Adonai, acclaim Adonai, all people on earth. Sing to Adonai, proclaim each day God's awesome might. Announce. For Adonai is great, deserving of praise. Adonai alone is to be revered as God. All the gods of the nations are nothingness. Majesty and might accompany God. Splendor and strength adorn God's sanctuary. Adonai, all families of nations, claim God's majestic power. Acknowledge God's glory and bring him tribute. Worship Adonai in resplendent reverence. Let the earth tremble in God's presence. Gentle world, Adonai is sovereign. God has steadied the world which stands firm and judges all nations with fairness. Let the heavens rejoice. Let the earth be glad. Let the sea and all it contains exult. Let field and forest sing for joy. Adonai comes to rule the earth, to rule the world justly. And 4 lines from the bottom, page 16. Yismichu hashamayim b'tagel haaretz. Yeramayam umlo. Yalo sadai v'kol asher bo. Asheranenu kol hatzeyar. Lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz. Yishpot tevel b'tzedek. V'yamim be'emunato. And now for the Psalm of David, page 29. Please rise, page 20. Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, havu l'Adonai kivod shemo, ishtachavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod hirim, Adonai. Mayim Rabim, Kol Adonai Bakoach, Kol Adonai Behadar, Kol Adonai Shover Arazim, Vayishaber Adonai et Arzei Halvanon, Vayakidem Kimo Egel, Levanon B'Siryon, Kimo ven re'evim, kol Adonai chotzev lahavotesh, kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, vayechesov ye'aron, uvhechalot kulo, Kulo merkavod Adonai lamabu yashav vayeshav Adonai melech liolam Adonaios liamo yitem Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. And you may be seated. And we're going to continue with Lechadodi on page 21. Lechadodi lekrat kala pene Shabbat nikabela. Lechadodi lekrat kala pene Shabbat nikabela. Shamo v'zacho b'dibor echad hishmiyanu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'lithilah Lechadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Migdash melech melucha komitzi mitoch ha'afecha Rav lach shevet be'emek habacha vehu yachamol alayechem la Lechadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Hitoruri, kiva ore kumi ori, shidaberi, kivod Adonai alayek nigla, lechadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. V'hayulim shisa sho sayach, v'rachaku komevalayich, Yasis alayek Elohayich, Kim soskatan al kala, lechadodi lekrat kala, p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Bawi v'shalom materet bala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzahala, toch emunei am sigula, bawi chala, Lechadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela.
May be seated. Let's turn to page 23 and read the Psalm for Shabbat responsibly. It is good to acclaim Adonai, to sing your praise, exalted God.
To affirm your love each morning and your faithfulness each night, and to the music of the lute and the melody of the harp.
Your works, Adonai, make me glad. I sing with joy of your creation.
How vast your works, Adonai. Your designs are beyond our
The
grasp.
thoughtless cannot comprehend, the foolish cannot fathom this.
The wicked may flourish, springing up like grass, but their doom is sealed, for you are supreme
Your
forever.
enemies, Adonai, your enemies shall perish. All the wicked shall crumble.
But me you have greatly exalted. I'm anointed with fragrant oil. I've seen the downfall of my foes, and I've heard the despair of my
The
attackers.
righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. They shall grow tall like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they will thrive in the courts of our God.
And they shall bear fruit even in old age. They shall be ever fresh and fragrant. To proclaim Adonai is just, my rock, and whom there is no flaw.
4 lines from the bottom, page 23.
Tzadikatama Yifra Ke'erez Bavanon Yizke Shitulim Miveit Adonai Mechatrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yunuvon Beseva Deshenim Verananim Yehu Lehagi Ki Ashar Adonai Sori Velo Avlatabo. Edotecha ne'amnu mi'od lebekanav kodesh Adonai liorech yamim.
Now on page 24, those of you who are reciting Kaddish for your tzeit or a loved one will rise. The words of the mourner's Kaddish we recite together. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah v'yalma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael v'agala uv'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach La'olam Ulomei Omaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yipa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitaleh V'yithalal Shemei D'Kudesha Barichu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbachata V'nechemata Da'amiram B'alma V'yimru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu B'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu B'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru
Amen.
Amen. Let's turn to page 28 and let's rise for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamorah. Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah.
You may be seated.
Umavir yom umevi laila. Umavdil ben yom uvein laila l'lai tzavot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Avat olam beit Yisrael amchavta. Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limaduta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shakmeinu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismak b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha leolam va'ed. Ki hein chayenu v'yorech yameinu uvahem negeh yomam v'layla v'avatal tasim imenu leolamim Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'kol avavcha, b'kol nafshecha, u'b'kol me'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavcha, hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'beitecha, Overlechtecha vaderech, overshachbecha, overkumecha, ukeshatam liot al yadecha, vayule totafod beinenecha, uketavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. And silently to the bottom of the page 30. Limanye buye mechem vime venechem al adama ashenishba Adonai lavotechem latet lahem kimet shemayim ala aretz. Join me for the Vayomer on page 31. Vayomer Adonai al Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'amata alehem v'asu lahem tzitzi al kanfevig dehem ledorotam v'natnu al titira kana patil techelet v'aya lachem letzitzi uritem oto uzakartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam v'lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei einechem Asher atem zonim achareihem leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kiroshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher otzei tietkem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet. 32. Umalchuto bratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe v'nesh sholachanu shira B'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi chamocha neta b'kodesh Nora tehilot osei fele Malchutcha ruvanecha Gokeyam lifnei Moshe Ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed v'nemar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov u'gelom et chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai go'al Yisrael. Let's read together on page 33. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace and guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy and shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise are you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people, Israel, and over Jerusalem. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kalamo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
We rise, page 34, Vishamru.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat la'asot et hashabat לדורותם ברית עולם. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויאמר דברכותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל. שמי קודשה ברכו ליהלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם ביעלמה ויאמרו Amen.
We'll continue standing now for the Amida, page 35, A or B, your choice, continuing silently through page 38. The Amida is a time for you to pray privately, the words in the Siddur, or the words in your heart. Turn to page 38, Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata Melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amecha Yisrael b'chol eit u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We'll read the English passage in the middle of page 38 with Rabbi Bernie, my God.
My God, keep my tongue from evil and my lips from lies, and help me ignore those who would slander me. Let me be humble before all. Open my heart to your Torah, that I may pursue your mitzvot. Frustrate the designs of those who plot evil against me, and make nothing of their schemes. Act for the sake of your compassion, your power, your holiness, and your Torah. Answer my prayer for the deliverance of your people. And may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, my rock and my redeemer. And let's sing together, Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael. V'yamaru, Amen. And may the one who brings peace to his universe bring peace to us and to all the people, Israel. Amen. And at this time, we're going to say a few prayers for some people who aren't feeling too well. Amisha Barak Avatenu Avram Yitzhak Yaakov Sarivka Rachav Aleah, who Yivarek V'Rad Payet. Please bring blessing and healing too. Feel free to put in a name for someone who's not feeling well. And to all those who suffer in our congregational family as well, and may the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them physical and spiritual well-being, together with all who are ill everywhere in the whole world. And although Shabbat is a time to refrain from petitions, we at Hope and pray that healing is at hand, and let us say Amen. Mi shebeirach avotenu, mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength to bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi shebeirach Imotenu, Mekor Habracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with Refuah Shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Now, if I could ask you to rise for the Vayichulu on page 47. Vayichulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivam vayichal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa vayishpot bayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi Vayikadesh oto, Kivo Shabbat mikom melakto, Kivo Shabbat mikom melakto, Asher bara Elohim, Asher bara Elohim lasot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon Konei Shamayim Va'aretz.
You may be seated, bottom of 47.
Magen avod bidvaro, Mechayim metim b'ma'amaro, Ha'el hakadosh en kamohu, Hameniach li'amo b'yom Shabbat kadsho, Kivam ratza lehaniach lahem, Kivam ratza lehaniach lahem, Lefanav navod B'rava fachat, v'nodeh lishmo, v'chol yom tamid, me'on habrachot. El hahoda'ot Adon, hashalom, mekadesh hashabbat, u'mevarech shvi'i, u'meniach b'kedusha, li'amidush ne'oneg, Zecher Lemase Bereshit. And page 48. Eloheinu v'lahevotenu, ritzei b'mnuchatenu, kadshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'techokenu b'toratecha, sabenu mituvecha, v'samkenu b'shuatecha, v'taheh libenu li'avdecha be'emet, v'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava u'ratzon Shabbat kadshecha v'yinuchu Yisrael mikadeshei shemecha Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh hashabbat. Yitkadal Yitkadash Merabah, Be Almad Yirakrute, Vamlik Malchute, Bechaye Kona Vimekona Vachayako Bet Yisrael, Bagalabas Man Karivi Amaru, Amen, Yeheshme Rabbam Mevorach, Lealam Alam Meomaya. Yitbarak Vishtabak Vitpaavi Tumavi Nasevira David Alev Telav Shemer Kucha Brichule Elam Min Kabir Katava Shirata Tushbakata Vanakamata Dami Rambi Amavi Amaru Amen Titkapal Slot Honavotona Ko Israel Kadam Abu Hondi Vishmai Amaru Amen Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemai Vakai Malane Ko Israel Amaru Amen O Seshalam Bimromav Huya says Shalom. Aleni val koisrael v'yimaru. I could ask you to rise for the Kiddush for Shabbat night, Erev Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav ratzavanu v'shabbat kadsho b'yavav ratzonin kilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mekra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu b'chata v'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kadshecha v'yahava u'ratzon hinkaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen. May be seated.
All right. I keep it? I guess so. There goes diabetes, right? Right after that.
After the services, I'll give you something better.
I know. Thank you, Rabbi. So I can't resist, tonight, sometimes a little lighter. I got to give like a little devar based on what the Torah portion is tomorrow, because if we were to pick the most well-known chapters in the Bible, the whole Bible, Vayera would be one of them. That's what we're going to read tomorrow morning. Not only do we read this chapter as part of our weekly cycle, annual cycle, I should say, but we also read this chapter on Rosh Hashanah. The story is actually a continuation from the week before, chronologically speaking. Last week's chapter, called Lech Lecha, ended with Abraham circumcising himself, his son Ishmael as well, and the rest of the males that resided with him. That was the command from God. 3 days have passed since his circumcision, and God appeared to Abraham at his tent in the groves of Mamre, where he was dwelling at the time. Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch makes a good point. He said, God's presence is everywhere, but it's not apparent to everybody. Only after an act of devotion, as Abraham just performed his circumcision and was constantly performed, because he was so worthy of his blessings, does God's presence become apparent to human beings. Some say that God wanted to hang out with him for a while to check on Abraham, who was discomfited by his circumcision, but actually Abraham was distressed because nobody was coming by for him to converse with him, to talk with the one and only God, the King of the universe. So as you know, with the story with the chuppah, why do we have a chuppah? It's open on all four sides. It's to resemble Abraham, who would accept guests from any direction, wherever they were coming from. And of course, I have to say Sarah too. She was part of the, of course, helping to take care of the people and waiting on them. God had made it so hot that day, so nobody would go out in the heat, giving Abraham a chance to rest. But even though Abraham was still dressing his wound, he wanted to do God's work, and that is to invite strangers in for rest, give them a bite to eat, wash their feet, and talk to them about the God, the one King of the universe. So God sent 3 angels. The text called them anashim. If you translate that from Hebrew, it means men, but each one had a mission. So there were angels disguised as men, if you want to look at it that way. One angel was called Raphael. Sound familiar? The angel of healing, to make Abraham feel better physically. We say refuah shalema. Refuah comes from the angel Raphael. When we say a prayer for someone who is ill, and may they have a full recovery. The second man or angel was to tell Sarah she was going to have a baby son around that time next year. God already told Abraham about having a son with Sarah and revealed to him that his name would be Yitzchak, meaning laughter. And laugh is what Sarah did. She heard the news. She had ceased from menstruating. She was 89 years old. She started laughing. God asked Abraham, why is she laughing? Is there anything too wondrous for God? I guess I would have laughed too. To me, is there anything too wondrous for God is one of the most important sentences or questions in the whole Torah. It's the essence of our belief. God is the one and only God who can do whatever he pleases with us, with the whole world, with all other things that we don't even know anything about. We allude to that in the Hallel, by the way, in Psalm 115. It says, Lama yomru hagoyim ayena Elohehem, ve'Eloheinu b'shamayim kol asher chafetz asa. Which means, why should the nation say, where is their God? Our God is in heaven doing whatever he wants. So before I get into the wonders of God, which is actually kind of the theme I want to talk about tonight, I just want to mention a few other events that happen in this chapter that's really worth mentioning. Like God telling Abraham that he's going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because of the evil that resided there. Abraham negotiated with God. I think we all know the story. If you can only find 50, God, you're the judge of all world. Would you kill 50 righteous men or women too, people? If you could find 50, would you destroy them with the whole city? Anyways, he goes to 45, 40, 30, 20, 10. He comes down to 10. 10 couldn't be found. Hence the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. But not before the angel Raphael saves Lot, Abraham's nephew, and his 2 daughters. Notice I didn't mention his wife. His wife was actually saved, but she regretted leaving, turned around, and turned to a pillar of salt. Another story worth mentioning is about Sarah telling Abraham, cast out Hagar and her son Ishmael, because Ishmael was taunting. It says misachek. There's a certain word between playing with and taunting. It said that that Ishmael was not worthy of being brought up with Isaac in the same household. Another story worth mentioning that's in today's portion, it says, Abraham to raise up the son that he loved, Isaac, as an offering. God stopped him at the last minute once God knew Abraham would actually do the command that he asked him to do. It's the binding of Isaac. Notice it's not that, there's a lot of there's a mix up, and it says the sacrifice of Isaac. It wasn't the sacrifice of Isaac. First, he bound him up, he tied him up, then he put him on the altar. So there was never a sacrifice of Isaac. A ram was close by, just so happened, and that was sacrificed instead of Isaac. We sound the shofar on Rosh Hashanah and read the story to remind us of Abraham's devotion to God. And by the way, Isaac's devotion as well. The guy was 36 years old, I think it was. He allowed himself to be bound up and placed on the altar. He could have given his father a punch in the head and say, I'm not doing this sort of thing. So we have to think of Isaac, his devotion too. And another story worth mentioning is when Abraham made a peace agreement with Melech, the leader of the Philistines at that time, that Abraham would not harm Avimelech's children or his grandchildren, because he knew that Abraham was blessed by God. And that a well that Abraham dug would be Abraham's well to keep, and through his son Isaac as well. They called a place where they made the pact Be'er Shiva. So it's funny, the word Shiva, there's a kind of a play on that word. Shiva means 7, because they sacrificed 7 bulls, but Shiva also means a promise, so that's really the word that we use. I'm looking at Esther because she graduated Hebrew college, but anyways, she knows the meaning of the word. So Shiva, it actually means Be'er. Be'er means the well of the swearing of the pact between Avimelech, the Philistines, and Abraham. Another story worth mentioning is about Abraham hearing that his brother Nahor had a granddaughter named Rivka, and he thought that it would be a nice match for his son Yitzchak. So in all of these stories worth mentioning, all the actions by each individual and their motives really deserve a full discussion on their own. But what it all comes down to is, and what I said before, and what the theme is that I get out of this Torah portion is there anything too wondrous for God? If Abraham actually, just think about it, if Abraham actually sacrificed Isaac on the altar, cut him up into a bunch of pieces, couldn't God just put him back together again and make him even better than he was before he so choose? He caused Sarah to give birth at age 90. He split the Sea of Reeds so the children of Israel can cross through on dry land. God made this world. He made us. He takes actions in this world when he decides it's appropriate, not when we think he should. Everybody says, oh, how come God didn't stop that person? God makes the decision what he does and when he wants to. So there's nothing in the lives of the people in these stories or in our lives or anything in this world that God can't make happen for better or for worse. We say in the Amidah 3 times a day, Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hametim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who restores life to the dead. He can do that if he wants to. Is there anything too wondrous for God? Our God is in heaven doing whatever he wants. And that's a reality we all have to come to terms with, whether we like his decisions or not. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
You know, Rabbi, I know Lot's wife's real name.
Lot's wife's name.
The real
Salt.
name,
Melech.
Morton.
Morton.
No salt, salts like Morton salt. Page 51, we rise for Aleinu. Let's rise.
Aleinu l'shabech ladon hakol, latekidu laliyotzeh bereshit, shelo asanu k'nei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam kalkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, l'fnei melech Akadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Notei Shamayim v'Yosei Haaretz, U'Moshe Yikaro b'Shamayim Imah, Shkinatu Zo b'Kavei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Elon, Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato, Kakatu b'Torato, Yadata Yom, Hashevota El Levavecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, Bashamayim, V'al Haaretz Mitachat Einot. Kakatu b'Toratech Adonai yimloch li'olam va'ed, v'nema na'yad Adonai lemelech al haaretz. Bayom ha'hu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo And before we say the Mourner's Kaddish, we want to remember those on our Yortzeit list for this coming week. Donna Stromley, Beatrice Berman, Francis Block, Molly Dashiff, Thomas Herman, Edith Lemak, Francis Adela Ross Nokros, George Schulman, Evelyn Leventhal, Farha Mazur, Barbara Rich, Arnold Schultz, Philip Nager, Evelyn Reese, Rose Shapiro, Marilyn Shaw, Gussie Teitelbaum, Annie Weisberg, Abigail Finger, Leonard A. Weiner, Leonard Cantor, and Helen Rosenberg, Harvey Steller, Herbert Wheeler. Are there any other Yortzeits for this week to mention? No? If not, if I can ask you to please rise, and those observing Yortzeit, those who are saying Mourner's Kaddish, page 52. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah. Bi'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chaye chon of yomei chon of b'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Bagalav v'zman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei dekucha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechamata. Damiram bi'alma v'yamru amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Yamru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Romav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Yamru Amen. Now I'd like to invite Ed Gusta to come up and make a few announcements for us.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I can't start off with the Red Sox scores. I don't have them.
Could be okay.
Saturday morning services start at 9:30. We will be celebrating Bat Mitzvah of Dylan Stein Memorial. I'm sorry. Mazel tov to her family on this great honor. And Minyan services schedule is Sunday at 9 a.m. No evening services. Monday through Thursday services are at 7 p.m. live as well on Zoom. And please join us on Zoom as the people on Zoom are counted for a minyan. So lunch and learn with Rabbi Perlman will continue on Thursday, October 28th at noon via Zoom. On Sunday, October 24th, 10:15 a.m., there will be a meet and greet in the sanctuary for our young families. And the rabbi told me, he wrote these up today because our secretary wasn't in. He says, cut it down, I wrote too much. So we're gonna cut it down. The rest of the stuff all happens the week after. So you can look online, or you come back next week for what I'm not reading tonight. The rabbi also mentioned to me, don't forget a joke, Ed. You always do a joke. And today was a kind of a rough day, and I didn't have time to really work on anything, but I just thought of something on the way down here. I'm an amateur radio operator, been so for 49 years. And my call sign is W1FBI. And the United States has an agreement with the rest of the world, a reciprocal agreement. You can work in a radio in any country, any other country in the world, except every other country has a different rule. I was licensed in Israel for a while, which was a lot of fun. But the one I had the most fun with, I was walking down the streets in Hamilton, Bermuda, and walked by the Department of Telecommunications. And I went in to see if I could get a license. And they typed me up a license right then and there, and they handed it to me in a folder. And it had the big seal of the country of Bermuda on the front of the folder. And printed on the folder, it said, "On Her Majesty's service." And I said, just made feel great walking around with that. A couple of years later, when I was heading back to Bermuda, I hung the sign on my cabin door, "On Her Majesty's service," with my call sign and my Bermuda call sign on there. My cabin steward came to me like one day out to sea, and his voice was very shaky. "What does that sign mean?" I said, "That means if I have any problem with my cabin, I don't go to the captain. I'll just report you to the Queen." You want to know who had the nicest cabin and most attended cabin on the cruise? Good luck tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.
Very well done, Ed. Nice and short. CQDX, page 53. Yigdal will end our service, and then afterwards we can get together outside and join together without our masks and have a little bit of a something and a l'chaim tov. We're going to toast you tonight, Dylan.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yigdal Elohim Chai v'yishtabach nimtza v'yenei dam mitziuto echad v'yen yachid v'yichudo nelam v'gam nitzof v'yachduto ein lo demot haguf v'yeino guf lo na'arok elav kedushato lechol davar asher nira rishon v'yen reshit l'reshito hino adon olam b'chol notzar yareh gedulato malchuto on nubuato netano Adre sekulato betikvarto lo kam Israel kemoshe od navi umabid et timunato toratem et natan yamo el yandevi oneman beito lo yachali el velo yamnidato leolamim nizulato Fevio dea sitarenu mabit los of the bar bekadmato gomer ish chesed kemifalo noten la rasha ra kirishato yishlach lekes yamin mishichenu liftot mechakeke chishuato meitim yechaye eb derov chasto Baruch Adonai Shem Tehilato Meitim Yechaya El Berov Chasto Baruch Adonai Shem Tehilato.
And love our God restores the life of all our souls. May God be ever praised until eternity. Yashkov to you, Rabbi Bernie.
Thank you.
Mazel tov to you, Dylan, for tomorrow. And
Dylan.
Shabbat Shalom to all of you and you at home on Zoom.
Thank you for joining us. Shabbat Shalom. It's a whole thing I read one time. I've seen that the book by this song. By song specific. There's a reason why it's song. It's a reason.